Hello, welcome to another episode. So back in 2018, I moved to Italy completely solo, independent, just me, myself and I. And there were a few things that caught me by surprise by that whole experience. So in today's video, I'm sharing with you 5 tips if you are considering moving to Italy solo that I think will help you to enjoy your experience even more. So let's get into the video. So the first thing to consider if you're moving to Italy solo is that it's not easy to form friendships here in Italy. Now I've spoken about this before in another video, I'm going to link it above, but friendships here in Italy are very different compared to other countries, certainly very different to how friendships are in the UK, for example. Friendships are in the UK are very transient. I feel like people come and go in your life, they ebb and flow. Of course, you have some friendships that last for years and people that are in your life for a very long period of time. But I feel that it's more unusual to have friendships from when you were at school, when you're like 30 or 40 years old, for example. Whereas in Italy, it's completely different. Friendship circles are often very tight-knit and people know each other for a lot longer and tend to maintain friendships from school even when they are grown adults. So it can be very difficult sometimes to break into those friendship circles, particularly if you're brand new, you're here by yourself, you're in this country that's not your own. So I have some tips to help you. First of all, I would recommend trying to source expat groups in your area. You can do this through Facebook. Facebook is a great resource for finding expat groups in your particular region in Italy. Also, just looking online as well to see if there are any forums where people meet together to talk about their life in Italy. Expat groups are essential really if you're moving solo to Italy because they're a way of connecting with people who are in a similar situation to yours, and also a way of even meeting some of the locals as well, because certainly with the expat group here in Salerno, for example, there are Italians that are part of this group because they want to practice speaking English. And so it's a fantastic way to meet people that are not only expats but also potentially local to that area as well. And as you know from many of my other videos, Italy is a country born on connections. So for this reason, if you can meet people in these groups that are local, it starts to open up the field a little bit and opportunities for you to meet people that are currently from the area you're in as well. So it's a great resource for that too. Another way that you can start to form friendships in Italy is to frequent bars and restaurants and start to get to know the people who work there. You will start to see familiar faces, and this can be a great way to start to get your face known and to start to get people talking to you and to form connections. Italy is a very social country, and unlike the UK where people don't really talk to one another if you don't know each other, in Italy everyone is very friendly, particularly here in the south. Maybe in the north it might vary, but in the south especially, people are very friendly and they will talk to you even if they don't know you, and especially if you go to the same place on a regular basis, you will start to strike up conversations and maybe even form friendships on the back of that. So that's something very important to consider. It's different maybe to how it is in your country. Even if in your country people don't speak to each other a lot, here in Italy, especially in the south, you can definitely make connections and get to know people through a simple act of even going to a bar every day or every week, for example. Just to say, if you haven't already subscribed, please consider doing so. I always forget to mention this, and your support means the world to me. So if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. And then of course you have the more obvious options through work or through taking up a hobby. You can form connections and meet people. It's not always easy, I'm not going to lie, especially if you have like language barriers, for example, but it's certainly a way to get you feeling a little bit more social, even if the friendships take a little bit of time to form. And then of course, don't forget to utilize your own social media platforms. Instagram is a great way to connect with fellow expats. Even if they're not in the same region of Italy as you can start to share experiences and feel part of a community, because that's really important. When you move to Italy on your own, solo, you want to feel part of a community. It's really vital that you do, because it can be quite a lonely experience otherwise. So these are some tips that can help you to feel like you are forming a community, even if you don't get to see these people on a very regular basis. The second thing to consider when you are moving solo to Italy is that families are very, very close here in Italy, and this may differ to how families are in your own country. So for example, in the UK, families are not overly close. Like, of course, there are exceptions. You can have families that are super close, but generally speaking, families don't live on top of one another. They can be separate around the country or even around the world. And just the dynamics within families are very different. Whereas here in Italy, especially in the south, families are super close. Often you will have family members living in the same building, or even all together in the same apartment. You will have contact with family members on a daily basis. It is a very different life here in Italy, and consider Sundays and even on festival days, they're designated family days, and you really notice it more, especially if you move to Italy solo. So this is something that I think I definitely wasn't prepared for when I moved here, and at the beginning it hit me hard because I missed my family, and to look around and see all the families together on those special days, yeah, it was something that affected me. So I think it's important for you to know this when you're moving here to Italy, so that you can mentally prepare yourself for this. And on those days when families are together, you can plan some things for you to do to make you feel less lonely. And also, one thing to know though, is that when you do start to form connections here and friendships, Italian people will welcome you in as if you were part of their family. They are some of the most accommodating, friendly, hospitable people that I've ever met. And so when you do break through that barrier and you start to form connections with people, you can expect to feel very much as if you are part of their family as well. It does take time, don't get me wrong, but once you're there, it feels like you have adopted, if you like, a second family or a third family, depending on how many people you get to meet. So that is something that's quite encouraging if you move here by yourself. The third thing to consider when you're moving solo to Italy is that language is key. I have spoken about this in so many videos. I've started self-study for my Italian. The vlog series is up here, and there'll be a double episode actually at the end of March, because I have a bit of a significant update in relation to that. So stay tuned for that. But language is key. English isn't widely spoken in Italy. Parts of Italy maybe more so, like in the north especially, but in the south, forget it. And so it can be very isolating if you cannot communicate and you cannot integrate into everyday life because you cannot speak. Take it from me, I spent a year and a half as an absolute mute, and it completely eroded my confidence and my personality. And it's only now, like 4 years in, that I am really starting to come out of my shell and express the personality that is me, that I've hidden for such a long time because I just simply couldn't communicate how I felt, or, you know, any jokes, or just generally communicate my personality. So please don't underestimate how important language is. I continue to speak about this on my channel because I think sometimes we can get into the idea that actually, you know, we can get by, it will be okay. Honestly, yes, you can get by, but it doesn't necessarily make it a very easy experience or one that you will enjoy necessarily. So I can only stress enough that to learn the language is key to really having a fulfilled life here in Italy, and one that you can appreciate more. So for example, if you want to start looking for social events that you want to go to, you don't have to worry about not understanding anything or not being able to speak. You can just go. And that is the most liberating feeling of all. So language is super important, so please don't neglect it if you're thinking of moving here solo to Italy. The fourth thing I would say if you're thinking of moving solo to Italy is to get the right advice for setting up your life. This is key. Make sure you do your research, make sure that you thoroughly understand what your obligations are for living in Italy and for working in Italy and for basically setting up your life here. Make sure you understand what it's like to rent a home, for example, if that's the route you're going down. In fact, I've recorded a video all about that up here. Or if you're buying a home, make sure you understand what you have to do here in Italy. And there are many ways that you can do this. Of course, the internet, Google is king. You can look on Google and get answers to everything. Also, you can explore what people are saying in expat groups. Just please always take people's experiences with a pinch of salt, particularly if they're very negative, because somebody else's experience isn't necessarily going to be your own. And also you can get professional advice where necessary, especially with regards to taxes or anything that is linked to finances. I highly recommend that you get some professional advice to make sure that you are doing everything correctly. Italy can be a little bit complicated sometimes when it comes to bureaucratic matters, so I cannot stress enough the importance of making sure that you do your research and that you are thoroughly aware of your obligations in terms of your life here in Italy. And the fifth thing I would recommend if you're moving solo to Italy is plan things to do. Now, when you start working here, if that is what you're going to be doing, you can easily get into a bit of a routine in terms of what you do in the week. But when it comes to weekends, if you don't work at weekends, sometimes it is this big void gap with not a lot to do. So it can feel quite isolating. So I recommend planning things to do. local attractions that you want to see, different parts of Italy that you want to explore, maybe seeing if there are any local events that you want to attend. As the COVID restrictions ease here in Italy, I hope that a lot of the traditional festivals and events that used to take place here can resume, because honestly, that is what makes Italy so magical. And to experience those can really help you to feel integrated in life and the community here in Italy. So just have a look, restaurants that you want to visit. Really take the time to plan an itinerary for yourself in the moments where you are completely free, because it really helps you to feel less isolated. And also, I think it helps to remind you why you've chosen to move to Italy. And you never know, you might feel inspired to take up a new hobby or start something new on the back of exploring new places and discovering new things. And you also never know who you might meet. Italy, as I've mentioned in this video and in many others, is a country with connection at its heart and soul. So when you meet people, you just never know where that might take you. So I hope this video has helped if you're thinking of moving solo to Italy. There were just 5 tips that certainly I wish some of those I had followed when I first moved here. If you like my content, please subscribe. I would really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next video.